Kams audio son, you burn this wine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Kams I say them heart no kind. Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat.
Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money, never, money, never, money, money, never, money, money, I know what you're gonna even money, money, never, money, never, money, money, never, money, money, you can keep your conniving money. When you've been a corrupt in a bills there'll be money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a bills there'll be money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money, never, money, never, money, money, never, money, money, now know what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me work for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This is all the money that me work for. I said money, neighbor, money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money. Now I don't want you conniving money. Oh, Joseph.
Well, I invoke the WPA's position that we are engaging in civil disobedience and non-cooperation with the government. And on that grounds, I refuse to participate in the interview. The question in struggle, is not personal. Whatever sacrifice as a political activist or a political leader you have to make for your people, you have to make it.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Kams TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea, where the wicked politicians, they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Beep, beep, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, with Jah as ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Breakford, Bork and Mark Benchcop. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam. Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London. Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow Port People Governor. Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson. Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. Oh Lord, oh yeah. It is 18 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour. It is the 5th day of June in the year 2023. Welcome to the program. How was your weekend? I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you had a productive weekend. I hope you used Saturday and Sunday to make some extra money. You know, I always encourage you to make some extra money. Use your time, use your what people call spare time, and make some extra money. Money makes the world go wrong, man. And money is important for the struggle. Don't let nobody fool you. If you ain't got money, you can't fight. There are lots of people who have lost property, have lost loved ones, have lost businesses simply because they didn't have money to fight. Money is a resource, right? And if you want to do battle, if you want to fight, you have to have resources to fight. So my encouragement is that you try to make money whenever you can. Legally, don't be like the PPP and their friends, right? You don't have to be corrupt to be successful. If you have acquired wealth through corruption, you're not successful. I will say you're not successful. Because corruption is crime. And when the law finds you guilty of your crime, according to what I understand about the law, they're supposed to take away what you made. All the proceeds of your crime, they're supposed to confiscate. You can't benefit from your crime. And so if you're a corrupt politician or a corrupt individual, a criminal, and you have acquired wealth and you tell yourself that is success, not in my book. Success to me is a man who has been able to build it brick by brick by brick, brick by brick by brick, staying in the strict confines of the law, brick by brick by brick. Whether you receive generational wealth or not, brick by brick by brick. Because when you receive generational wealth, you're expected to build on that. Good? You're expected to build on that. A lot of people, the terminology we use around the world is people born with gold spoon and silver spoon in their mouth. Right? A lot of us are born with gold spoon and silver spoon in our mouth, and like the prodigal son, we go and fear it out, we squander it. And so we can't achieve success. In fact, we have destroyed the foundation that somebody has left us for success. While there are others who weren't born with silver spoon and gold spoon in their mouth, but they work from the bottom up. Starting from the bottom, now we're here. And they work consistently to get to the top. And so they have more respect. They have more value for that which they have, because they know it's blood, sweat, and tears went into it. People like me have to be charged with fraud. People like you and your parents got to be charged for crimes against humanity. Because I don't know why your parents going to give us such an idiot. Right? Yes. So when you put your shoulders to the wheel and when you make the sacrifices to get to where you're at, you respect that. You understand that. Right? And so it's not a gift that you have received and therefore you don't know the value of it. You don't know the labor that went into it. You don't know the strugglation, as we like to say. And that's a problem with a lot of us in this society. A lot of us just receive gifts. We come and we receive villages from the ancestors. We come and we receive businesses from the ancestors. We come and we receive political office from the ancestors, because they all made sacrifices so that we can enjoy the fruits of their labor. But do we treasure the fruits of their labor? Do we? We take it for granted. The right to vote. Blood, sweat, and tears. Lives were lost for that right to vote. But many of us take it for granted. Our young people are about the place saying, me voting, if I vote, I still got for work. That's disrespectful and disregarding to the sacrifices that the ancestors made. Yeah, even if you vote, you got to work. But dependent on who is in office, you will either get value for your labor or you will get pittance for your labor. You will get disrespect. Case in point, PPP has been in office for 23 plus years prior to now. What were public servants being paid when the PPP left office in 2015, when they lost the election in 2015? What were public servants paid? $38,000 or $40,000 a month? And people voted and got the PPP out of office. And the AP and UFC coalition came to office. And when they were forced out of office, public servants were receiving what? In excess of $100,000 a month? So public servants' salaries were doubled by the time the AP and UFC left office. Because people voted for a change in government. And so you see, when you vote, and you vote for the right sets of people, your labor becomes more valuable. Or you get more value for your labor. Because people respect that. So our young people and those of you who keep saying, if I vote or don't vote, I still got work. Understand that. That's that. If it's as simple as that, and you can't understand it, then I'm sorry for you. I can't help you. You know, we are saying Christ himself can't help some of you. Right? But we have to understand that the sacrifices of our foreparents must not go wasted. They didn't give up hope, and neither should we give up hope. But I'm repeating, resources are necessary and important in any battle. If you go into war, you know that when the war starts, your supply chain is going to get disrupted. And so in preparation for that war, you have to prepare your supplies. You have to ensure that you have an abundance of supply that will last you until that time when you project the war will last. And so your soldiers don't die of hunger, because you have acquired enough supplies to keep them alive and refreshed and well fed, energized to fight the battle. It takes resources to stock up on those supplies. Financial resources in most instances. Right? So keep that in mind. My encouragement will always be to you, make money. And I see another troll, another crass, another intellectually lazy chap representing the PPP is here. And the first salvo he throws is, go get a job. You are lazy. People like you. Well, people like me. The important thing is people. We are people. We are people. And I take this crass a bit that I've already put in more work, more productive work than he has for today. I take him a bet. They let's just wake up to come on this program and be crasses. I have a structured day for the most part. Enough for y'all taking y'all for turn. I don't do 2 and 3 hours of work. Yeah, the viewers will tell me, Mr. Amsterdam, you mustn't let these people distract you, you mustn't answer them. Sometimes I take the opportunity to answer people so that others understand. And everybody gets an understanding. Now, I don't sit and depend on anyone for my living. I work for it. I work darn hard. Enough y'all can't even see that because y'all don't even know what hard work is. Those who know me know me. Those who have been in this space at least for 24 hours can attest to what I do and how I do it. Some of y'all working, but y'all ain't working honestly. Y'all stealing from the citizens of this country. Y'all are corrupt officials. Right? By the sweat of thy brow thou shalt eat bread. The quality of bread you eat is dependent on who paying you for the bread. Nevertheless, let's talk. I'm supposed to have a guest this morning. Okay, I'm not going to have a guest this morning. I just saw a message asking to reschedule. Right, and so I'm not going to have a guest this morning, but I was about to say to you, I'm supposed to have a guest this morning because on Kams TV, like I always say, people have the right to reply. Just as I have the right to reply and I have the right to propagate, I have the right to put information out there, I have the right to communicate. People have a right to reply. When things are said about people on this program that they disagree with, they will always have the right to reply. And so I was going to have a guest who wanted to reply to some things that were said on Friday. But let me say this. Following Friday's program, which I just replayed a section of, I got a lot of calls. Well, lots of people called me. Some to chastise me. There's some of you I saw chastising me on the program. I saw some people said I'm being irresponsible. And so on and so forth. Some politicians called me. Some of their names were mentioned. Some of their relationships were mentioned on the program. Some politicians complained about me and so on. But I want to say this because I said it Friday and I'm saying it again. My analysis on this program, or let me be specific, my analysis on Friday's program wasn't because of malice nor ill will. I don't have a bone of hatred for any of these people whose names were called. I don't have a bone of hatred for anybody in the PNC. I have simply acknowledged that the PNC is the largest political party in this country which gets black people support. Gets Guyanese citizen support. And so regardless of which political party I'm in, I have a right, I reserve that right to observe what is happening there and criticize them. And that is if you call it criticism. Because they got something called constructive criticism, right? And so my pointing out all that I see as an individual wrong with the PNC and how it is hurting the citizens of this country is my right. And so I'm not going to duck and hide because some people are offended that I dare to go down that road. Right? I dare to call people out, call the political party out for having factions and so on. I'm not going to duck and hide. Will not. And so sorry for those people who believe that I will duck and hide or I will withdraw my comments or I will apologize for my comments. I stand by my comments. Because they are factual. I saw some people, I don't know if they're for what he has said. I don't play tit for tat. I don't come here for tit for tat. But because people pay attention to what is put out there, and most people, a lot of people are guided by it, it is my duty as an educator yeah, GT Kabaka, them plenty bad. As an educator, to educate. And let me tell you something. Let me throw some stones early. While there is division and infighting in the PNC, or APNU, whichever we want to call it, while there is a lackluster campaign for local government election from the APNU or the PNC, whichever we want to call it, there are supporters of this very political party out there who don't know who their candidates are, constituency candidates and PR candidates for local government elections in many areas across this country. That is what division does. Because the entire APNU is not out there knocking on doors, walking streets, educating voters. They just believe what? They're going to learn by magic who their candidates are, or they should just walk into messing with the program. You understand the importance of going out there, putting your shoulders to the wheel, and knocking on doors and giving people pertinent information. Set your disagreements in the party aside until after the election. You could go back to that. And if you can't recognize that simple fact which I'm saying, then maybe you're not supposed to be in politics or supposed to be in the political party you are in. I said last week, leadership is recognizing that we are in the same boat. And if we don't partner together, we are going to sink together, especially when we are coming up against a rapid, like fraudulent local government elections. And the people in APNU have not recognized up until now, at least they have not demonstrated up until now, that they recognize the importance of paddling together. It's as simple as that. I know of local government areas where there are people who are campaigning for local government office under the APNU banner, but they're practically Lone Rangers. There's no day when all of these candidates in this particular area are coming together and walking together and working together so that people understand who the entire team is. That is what division does. And when you're divided, you make it easier for your opponent's side to win you fairly or rob you. And so the faster you can recognize that and fix it, the better the chances you're going to get me to shut my mouth. Because here what happened? When the APNU loses local government elections, whether by rigging or not, and the PPP controls the Buxton Falls NDC, for example, that affects me. Because the quality of service that will be given to Buxton as part of the neighborhood would be mediocre compared to what will be given to Enterprise and the other Indo-Guyanese dominated areas. And so I have a right to talk. I have a right to address the issue. And who vex lose? Moving on. So these people believe that they have to identify Mr. Amsterdam and contradict him. Maybe for their share of the viewership. Let me address some of y'all. I've heard some propositions made, and I will address those propositions. Amanza and Ganesh Maipal for leadership of the PNC, leadership of the coalition for the next election. And when I say leadership here, I'm talking about president and prime ministerial candidates. Let me call it as they say. Amanza and Ganesh Maipal for president, not necessarily in that order, and prime ministerial candidates for the APNU for the next elections. That's a sure winner in the eyes of some people. I will say to you that a black Indian combination has been tried already. It has had success up to a point. The rest is history. The last government that was formed by the APNU was David Granger and Moses Nagamotu, African Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese combination. That elections was won. If you want to talk about coalition, it was an African Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese coalition. They were thrown out of government by the treachery of an Indo-Guyanese. Do you really believe? Do you really and sincerely believe that African Guyanese, who make up the majority of the APNU supporters, are going to be willing to take that chance again? Do you believe so? That's point one. Let me address point two. Ganesh Maipal is a relatively newcomer to the PNC and to the APNU. I don't think Ganesh Maipal has 5 years membership with the PNC or the APNU. He has not proven his loyalty, in my mind. Note, in my mind, these are my opinions, I'm entitled to them. He has not proven his loyalty to the APNU for the period of time that he has been there. And let me address that. Not so long ago, there was a big public spat over the leadership of Aubrey Norton. And instead of approaching the leadership and having that issue discussed or resolved within the party, it was made into a public spectacle, where the treasurer was made to resign, made all kinds of allegations and accusations in the public domain, then withdrew his resignation and apologized and asked to be retained as treasurer. Voice notes were circulated. Those voice notes alleged or suggested that Ganesh Maipal, Wiesel Ford, and the treasurer, there might have been a fourth person, all quote-unquote conspired to create this public spectacle. If you are in the leadership of your political party and you're willing to just jump into the public and pull down the leader, you have not shown your loyalty to the party. Up until this day, every time you address issues of Aubrey Norton, people ask you about blank checks. What they ask you about? Blank checks. What's your opinion of these allegations of Aubrey Norton authorizing the issuing of blank checks, signing of blank checks? People can read all kinds of things into that. It may very well be justifiable action, but it is always action that will have to be defended. Like the failure to declare immediately the $18 million that was given to the government of Guyana to fight the border case. Every day people ask, what happened to the $80 million signing bonus? Despite time and time it has been explained that that money was used and was intended to be used. Right? Was intended to be used for fighting the border case. Yes, Rwanda, I have a right to walk in my mind. I don't have to walk in anybody's footsteps. I can create my own. Good? As a Guyanese, my part in my mind, I've not shown or proved his loyalty to the APNU thus far. On that matter of Rwanda uttering certain statements on the WPA's platform at a public meeting, a platform that Aubrey Norton was a guest on. Instead of trying to resolve their concerns within the political party, Ganesh Maipal and others who you know were quick to issue statements, public statements, not only condemning Rwanda for her statements, but condemning their leader, and by extension condemning the political party for not rebuking Rwanda. I'm not a member of that political party, mind you. And so I'm not going to say much more. Oh, well, there's a third thing I want to say in relation to Ganesh Maipal. As a relatively newcomer to the PNC, or the APNU, whichever one you want to term it, I personally do not see how Ganesh Maipal is going to overcome the hurdles of ethnicity and long-standing to become either prime ministerial or presidential candidate in the APNU. For the simple fact, I'm a good student of history, I like to take you all back there. For the simple fact that history has shown us that Winston Murray, an Indo-Guyanese who was given, I want to say, all of his life to the PNC, found it difficult to get the blessings of the supporters or influencers of the PNC as a presidential candidate and perhaps also as a prime ministerial candidate. The records will show, and these things which I'm talking about are public, it's public knowledge. I personally have heard in the public domain when a certain newcomer to the APNU accused Aubrey Norton of being let me say racially divisive. I remember Aubrey Norton responding and saying, this is nonsensical. I'm not a racist. I'm not racially divisive. I am known to have proposed Winston Murray for leadership of the PNC. And so this is not rocket science. This is not me conjuring up any magic. This is out there. This is known. And so Winston Murray has dedicated all of those years and resources and sacrifices which I dare not talk about to the PNC. And it was an uphill task to get him accepted. What makes you all think that this newcomer Ganesh Maipal, who has perhaps less than 5 years membership in the PNC, will be given that nod? I was talking about proving loyalty. The very Ganesh Maipal I heard said that it was Aubrey Norton who invited him to become a member of the PNC or the APNU. And that is how he became involved in the APNU PNC politics. If that's a man who invited you, who encouraged you to become a part of the party, and you were quick to pull him down in public, you haven't proven loyalty. You haven't proven loyalty to your quote-unquote political godfather. You haven't proven loyalty to the party. And you certainly have not proven loyalty to the majority supporters of the APNU. And I stand by that. It's my opinion. Those are my opinions. I'm entitled to them. Y'all beat me up for them. Likewise, Amanza has proposed in the same breath to be Prime Minister presidential candidate along with Ganesh Maipon. Like Ganesh, Amanza is a relatively newcomer to the PNC/APNU. I don't know if she has 5 years membership with the PNC. And so it is tantamount to being ridiculous, to being obnoxious, to say to people who have given their life to the party, who have worked their way up the ranks of the party to get into the ranks of leadership. It is tantamount to being obnoxious to tell them, step aside and allow this relatively newcomer to lead the party, and you take second or third place. Why? Because you believe that, or charm, let me call it that, charm. I said the other day she is eloquent or eloquence. Or gender triumphs all of those years and sacrifice and hard work that other people put in? No. I have no ill will against Amanza. And I did say that she's someone I admire. I think she's eloquent. I used the word this morning, charming. She is not, and I'm saying that in response in particular to one of the commentators who said, Aubrey is gruff. So does being gruff mean that you can't be a good political leader despite the fact that you've been in the gutters of struggle for all of the years? You've shown the people what you're capable of in terms of fighting their struggles and their battles? Aubrey is gruff, but Irfan Ali is illiterate. But he is leading. And that talk about how Aubrey carries himself. It's just, again, confirming what I said on the very Friday program. A lot of us like doctor and lawyer politics. We like suit and tie politics. Has Aubrey been a good representative of the people over the years without being in suit and tie? Or without being a doctor, without being a lawyer? So why suddenly that's a criteria for him to lead? Why suddenly? The requirement for lead. At least the requirement to lead me. Is to recognize that your people are out there asking for unity in the APNU/PNC. Unity among the leaders. Unity among the leadership. Unity among the rank and file so that they can be defended. when y'all could recognize that and set aside your differences, even if it is just to this local government election, and paddle in the same direction, I will shut my mouth. For as long as y'all can't do that, I will have reason to talk. And I will talk. Trust me, I will talk. Y'all know I ain't got no fear of talking. Right? Hold the line for me. I need to answer this call. It's important. Yes, I was saying I had to take that call because it is part of how I earn my living. It is part of work. So even while I sit here, I work. I'm working for you. I'm also earning my living, my keeps. Right? So all of you intellectually lazy people who come here to talk crap when the mornings come, get your facts right. So I'm saying, always asking why we are so quick to outcast newcomers. Wasn't Granger and Armand relative in you? That's why I like when y'all comment. Because you help me to focus some of my thoughts. The experience of relatively new Harman and Granger to the PNC/coalition has taught the supporters of the APNU/PNC to distrust newcomers. I'll tell you this. It is my firm belief. It might be one of the best kept secrets or best known secrets out there that the rank and file of the PNC and even the leaders, long-standing leaders of the PNC, resented the way they were treated by Granger and Armand. They resented it. You go and talk with any long-standing PNC member/leader and they will tell you that they believe that the Granger-Armand combination cheated them out of opportunities that they rightfully earned by their years of sacrifices in the party. To paraphrase it, it was Granger and his soldier boys come and take over we party. And so there were many fallouts behind the scene. There were many fallouts behind the scene. Because the cabinet was stacked with ex-military. Or the corridors of power were stacked with ex-military. And so a lot of the PNC folks were aggrieved. And still up to this day remain aggrieved because of that. So yeah, Harman and Granger were relative newcomers. But while the party rallied around Granger, because they were looking for somebody that is quote-unquote electable, to use this, one of the other commentators' terminology. They believe that at the end of the day, they were given the short end of the stick. And so do you believe they are going to be willing to make that sacrifice again? I doubt it. This is not me reading minds. This is me using the power of analysis. I doubt it. I mean, I can't speak for people But I can tell you that right within the ranks of the PNC right now, there is a lot of resentment for a lot of newcomers, especially in the female ranks. Especially in the female ranks. What makes one electable? The question is, or the statement is, Aubrey Norton is not electable. But Aubrey Norton in modern history of the PNC won the race for leadership with the largest margin any leader has ever won it. And it was an election, it wasn't a selection. So he was electable to leader of the party. What gives you the impression he's not electable to president of the country? If the party were only to combine their forces, set aside their differences, and work together to sell Aubrey Norton as their leader to the nation, I am sure that you might be surprised at what the end result will be. A lot of people thought, for example, in the US, Trump wasn't electable or Biden wasn't electable. A lot of people believe that Obama, as the first black American president, wasn't electable. But the party stood behind them and with them and sold them to the populace. Is that happening in PNC? Is that happening in the APNU? Until that has been tried and it has failed, y'all don't come and tell me crap. Don't come and tell me crap. And let me make the disclaimer. I'm not a custodian of all the knowledge. I perhaps don't have any claim to fame when it comes to politics. Maybe I haven't achieved anything in the world of politics that gives me a right to speak. And so I'm speaking from the position of a Guyanese citizen. The ex-assurance says he believes I'm going contrary. One time I'm calling for young blood. And next time I'm saying they have to have time spent. That is the problem with many of us. Being youth or being young cannot be the only criteria. It cannot be the only criteria. In gang warfare, when you go and join a gang, I'm not saying that I've ever been a gangster. But there's something they call initiation. In many gangs, they sell you to kill somebody close to you. Or they send you to kill somebody to prove, number one, loyalty. To prove, number two, capability. You're not only accepted on the basis that you want to be a gangbanger. You have to prove yourself. And so why in politics the only criteria must be because you're young? If I tell you some things that are happening in this country with young politicians, y'all would duck and run. There are young politicians in political parties that are willing to trade party secrets for money, party secrets for favors. And that is why I gave the story of the prodigal son. And I say, like the father said to the prodigal son, you gotta wait. Because in my mind, the father was saying, you have to wait, observe, appreciate what it is I'm going to hand to you, so that you know the value of it, you know the blood, sweat, and tears which went into its creation. And so the criteria can't only be youth or youthfulness. It has to be more than that. Am I saying you have to be old and bent out of shape before you are allowed into the corridors of leadership? No. I am saying that you must be willing to spend time learning the system, to spend time understanding what you're expected to lead, to spend time understanding what is expected of you when you become a leader. But if you see young people join a political party, and within 5 years of their presence there, they're fighting up, and they're digging up, and they're scratching up to take over the leadership of the party, you have to stop and ask yourself what really is happening here. What really is happening here? And you have to call a spade a spade. It's now 4 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. I'm ready and willing to open up the lines. Give me a few minutes. Somebody said songs as though I am ready to join the PPP. I will tell you this. I don't see the PPP changing its attitude to African Guyanese, the ordinary ranking citizens of this country, the oppressed of this country, in the rest of my lifetime. And since I don't see them changing that attitude, I don't see myself joining the PPP for the rest of my lifetime. I don't see myself doing that. I don't care. They can get all their money to share. All their money to buy souls. All their money to bribe people. I am saying here and now, I don't see myself joining them. Because I don't see them changing their attitudes in my lifetime. First caller.
Oh, thank you. Yes, good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Yeah, good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Can I be astray on Monday morning?
Caller, you must stop coming astray. Caller, you must stop coming astray. Deal with the topic at hand.
Okay, well, it's the topic in a different direction. Anyhow, I would like to start off by saying we need to rally around our leader, Aubrey Norton. And seeing that the election is like up in the air, I would like to big up at this time the campaign in Linden that is run by Solomon, Vanessa Kitson, and the others. To me, they are actually carrying that fight, and I'm thinking if they don't succeed, something definitely wrong. At the same time, Vince Roy and Holder, they're doing a fantastic job too. And seeing that we have this crisis going on, I would like to beg of the WPA to, just rally around Mr. Norton and just help him be a brother's keeper. And do you know who is the candidate for the Buxton? Is Collagen? Those areas go together?
Yeah, Buxton to Falls. It means Buxton, Friendship, Vigilance, Strathspey, Collagen, Enterprise.
Okay, so
Dazel, Bachelor's Adventure, Melanie, all the way to Falls.
Okay, so can you give me the candidate, because I have some folks in the area and they don't even know who is the candidate and what's going on. So if you can get the information and maybe post it during the program, I can get the information to them.
You see, like I just said?
Thank you.
I just said it on the program, right? That while the PNC fighting among themselves, these are the kind of information that people want. Point proven.
Well, yep. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to getting that information.
Sure, I'll try to get it to you.
You have a beautiful day.
You too,
thanks.
thank you.
And you have a good... Yeah, bye-bye.
Call it live, good morning.
Yes, good morning to you and all my black brothers and sisters in Guyana. I would like to comment on certain things quick. What he said Friday, he is 100% right. What he said this morning, you are 100% right. That is what teachers are for. And your program is to teach us and let us know what the wicked cabal is doing to us and our family. Now, let Flash Garden move on. The biggest problem in PNC, my part, when we born in, grandmother and grandfather born in, is Granger, Arman, and Bonham son-in-law, I don't remember his name, and Bassett Williams, where are them to stand up with these young black politicians who running for local office? Where are them to give them support? These people, them give them support 2011, 2015, and 2020. Them and their family vote. Where are them now? That is the biggest problem in Guyana. And you're right. The PNC is three parts, three classes. I always love to use a word. But the one best class is nothing. And that Indian treasury was stepped down and stepped back. Is Jack Joe telling Flash Garden say it is not alleged? No, step back, because we want to know every money coming in and every money coming out, so we can know how to talk about the PNC. I mean, now, so let him go. You don't disrespect a leader like that. No, let him go. I hear it from Dennis Paul Mou that when he finished writing note for Parliament, he just take it to Arby Norton. My God. And Arby Norton just check and say, okay, it is okay. And you're right, where are your loyalty for? Where are your love there for Arby Norton? And now it's time for back Arby Norton. But these three them, I heard from Bassett Williams' mouth that Bonham giving his first scholarship as a young man. What you doing now for young people? What you giving them back? Nothing. Arby Norton is the foundation of part of Bonham Foundation. Hamilton Green, Carbon Prasad, but Jagdio Sarton Carbon Prasad. Why we say that? Carbon come to America one time to Woodbine, my black brother sister. And I went, pay me money, went for air, what's going on in my country. And what Carbon said, first of all, I'm not here to talk about politics. I said, what? And I pay my money for coming. We said, you go get a small package. When Carbon sick and come to Miami or Florida, if Jack Joe pay Dr. Bill, that's when we just give them name Prasad. My grandmother teach me one thing. When Uri come from on the side and say, Pat will get teeth, you got to believe him because them to live there. The three best program, my black brother sister, is Amsterdam, Mr. David 101, and Mr. Paul Slow. Because why? You represent what my grandmother tell me about Uri and Patwa. He was in the police force for 30-something years. He must know what's going on. It's a program we must sacrifice and listen for know our right where police and this wicked cabal come from. We should rally that day and give Arby Norton his first victory. He worked hard. Arby Norton never run away. And you, Mr. Amsterdam, you all guys stay there with black men and fight for black people and children. Make sacrifice. You get education. You could get any job in any Caribbean country. But no. You want to teach your family, don't give up on life. Don't run. Stay and inherit what belongs to you. Arby Norton, stay. That man, John Thompson, was talking nonsense about you. He run away. He's an old black man. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your call. I usually tell y'all I don't want y'all come here and attack people. Why y'all address the issues? So y'all don't attack John Thompson. As a matter of fact, I see John Thompson on the program and he says, your opinion. You're entitled to them, but they're recipes for failure. Right? I perhaps have more. Call on the line. I perhaps have a better understanding of the local political scenery than you, John. And so I can make assessments based on that experience. Right? And time will tell whether or not they're recipes for failure. I'm going to throw a stone by you. If you were aware of what was happening in this country and you were really conscious of what was happening in this country, you would have never supported a man like the Guyanese critic in the earlies. I've said it on this program and I'm saying it again because it should be no secret by now. I used to Lyman Robb Street at a place named Cloud Technology. A mutual friend, he's overseas now. He cut and run. Can you never what going on under the PPP? Or perhaps he didn't hear under the LPN either. But the critic and I used to meet up there. We used to share a beer together every now and again. And umpteen times, the critic tried convincing me that I should join him to fight the coalition or form an alternative to the coalition. But because I'm politically aware and I'm loyal to my people, I recognize that he was being used by the PPP to try to derail the coalition and what they were doing. And so if you want to go and ask him, and he's honest enough, ask him how many times he asked me, boy, let me join some, let me farm something, money there for me. So now it's about money for me. It's about loyalty to my people and their causes. And if John Thompson, if you really understood what's happening in this country, you want to fall in the trap, you give critics strength to kick your people. And I'm not attacking you. I am showing you where you are the recipe for failure and you didn't even recognize it. Call it live. Good morning. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, Kodafi. Good morning, sure. When you run in an election, it calls for finance, resources. If the PNC party is not getting along together, where are we not getting this finance from? They're going to always stifle it from the finance, right? The PPP have enough money on something that they're doing is not supposed to do. They're using the state resources for finance their campaign. They got a strategy that they're bringing up now that they're going to pay people for going to the polling booth for vote for them. And they're going to make sure these people walk with a camera and take picture for sure that they're voting for them. Right? There's something Aubrey not supposed to even be in that election. It's showing the world that everything in Guyana is going okay. The election, it shows the PPP. The PPP is doing everything under the book as how they're supposed to do it. Everything that black people going through, that black people, poor people in the visual going through in Guyana is all because of the PNC. And the PNC must go. I put it, the PNC and the PPP, I don't like none of them, but I before the PPP win everything and knock the PNC out. Supposed to be no way, power because of 2 weeks now.
Morning, are you morning, neighbor? Morning, neighbor, you morning. How are you doing? How are you doing? Share the live, man. Let's get the word out there. Share the live. The Buxtonian is here with the Guyanese morning time. How was your night? How you passed last night? How you passed yesterday to start with? Because you first had to survive the day to make the night. How did you make it? You know, a lot of folks, they argue. I've not been able to draw a breath of life this morning. And so let's give thanks to that we have been able to draw a breath of life. Let's give thanks for our successes yesterday. And the new opportunities that we have today. We have once you draw the breath of life, you have an opportunity to start over, you know. You have an opportunity not only to start over, but you have an opportunity to make a difference. What difference are you planning on making? That's the question. Good. I hope when I come here and I sit before these cameras and microphones and I talk with you, I'm really making a difference. If I'm not making a difference, then I'm wasting time. I hope I'm impacting change, whether for the better or the worse, right? Because there can be positive change and there can be negative change. Guyanese shouted they wanted change, they wanted change, they wanted change. The Granger government was too strict and so on. The illegalities weren't happening. Money they making, and so they got change. But is it change to the better? That's the question, right? In the 90s, we wanted change from the PNC because they were not democratic in their behavior. They did not behave democratic-like or yes, they didn't give you impression that you were living in a democracy. And so Guyanese were fighting for change. We got change, and then we ended up with the PPP who tormented and dominated and murdered some of us for the last 23 years. But we didn't learn from that, did we? In 3 short years, people started saying we want change, and we had a no confidence motion against the people who promised to give us the good life, and quite frankly, were working their way up to giving us the good life with the little resources that we had. But we got change in 2020. Whether the masses wanted change or not, we got change in 2020. And so we're living the consequences of those changes or that change. And so when we talk about change, we have to, in some instances, clarify the change we're looking for, because I hear the old people say words got more than power. Words got more than power. And so if you're just saying you want change, you could end up with any change, so you might as well define the change you want. Good. Nevertheless, we all have opportunities to make a new opportunity today to make a change, to make a difference in somebody's life. And I encourage you, if you can go there and make a change, simply do that. Good. It starts with the man in the mirror. And so let's work on ourselves first and then work on others. I usually tell people there's no doubt that all of us have our frailties, because we are all human beings. All of us have shortcomings. But that shouldn't stop us from identifying and pointing out the shortcomings of others, because if we can help others to fix themselves, maybe those very others can help us to fix ourselves. Right? And so let us continue to point out lovingly each other's faults, and not only point them out, but make recommendations as how they can be fixed, how each of us could improve on ourselves. That will help. That will be helpful. That will help our society and so on. And so for the last couple of days, I was pointing out the flaws. What's wrong with the PNC? People don't like that. Toes are getting mashed. What's wrong with the PNC, the biggest political party in this country that gets black people support? I'm not saying they don't get other people's support, but for the greater part, they get black people support. And so as a black man, well, they're going to cost me for saying black man, I know who I am. I'm so certain about my ethnicity and my nationality and my sexuality and everything that terminologies don't bother me. Esther, you're wrong. I disagree with you. I'll tell you the rationale behind that. That's a joke. Let me move on. Yeah. First and foremost, I'm an African man. My ancestors were African. That makes me African. I'm also Guyanese. And so I have a right to analyze what's happening in my country, whether by institutions or individuals. And for that simple fact, I retain the right to criticize the PNC where I think it is failing, to identify where I think the PNC is failing, and make recommendations. And all I've been saying for the last couple of days, in case the message was too complicated for a lot of you to understand, is there is need for unity in the PNC. Because this unity in the PNC is harming, and that supposed base happens to be faction of the leadership of the PNC, because there are several factions. For me, the most appropriate answer is all of the factions, of all the leaders of all of the factions. They must come to a truce. They have to sit around the table, be big boys like somebody say, you know, put on your big boy pants and deal with it. So they have to come and sit to the table and address the issues. And the issues are many. Good? The issues are many. I've been identifying several along the way in the past few days. And me identifying those issues, a lot of people get the impression or have come to the conclusion that I'm rooting for Aubrey Norton. I'm an Aubrey Norton fan. I'm supporting Aubrey Norton. Everybody is entitled to their own conclusions. But I'm sure what I've been pointing out is that there is need for support of the leader and the leadership of that political organization. That's what I've been pointing out. It happens that Aubrey Norton is the leader at this point, so who else you want to support if Aubrey Norton is the leader? Somebody has to be man enough to extend an olive branch. Aubrey Norton has to reach across the aisle to his opponents and say, listen, this thing going on too long. We got to fix it. The people who empower us and are depending on us for defense are hurting. We have to fix it. The other leaders of the other factions should do similarly. They should also reach across the aisle to Aubrey Norton and say, listen, this thing is not working for us. We have to sit across the aisle and settle it. People say the PPP doesn't fight its battles in the public, but I remember seeing public battles from the PPP. When Anil wanted to be the presidential candidate, and the central executive of the PPP was doing its own thing to make Irfan Ali presidential candidate based on Jack Gill's hard stance, let me call it for that. Ramson was out there getting a public fight with Jack Dio because Jack Dio tell Lil by sit down because who dare you to say you want to be president? Right? And Sam Prayer and Vindhya were also in the battle. So let's assume that there were 5 sets of people fighting in the PPP for leadership. At some point in time, they recognized that that wasn't going to do the party well, and they sat around a table. And when I look at their behavior, I conclude that they made a decision. They agreed. Irfan will be president. But we will have autonomy to do what we want. Because that is what it appears in the PPP. Look around. And you would see that there's some people who appear to have autonomy. Frank Anthony was also in that race, y'all remember? They act as though they're not answerable to Irfan Ali especially. And it doesn't appear as though they're answerable to Jack Dio either. Those are only my observations. So in all of the differences, they sat around the table and they perhaps decided, listen, we're going to carve up this cake so everybody's going to be comfortable. But for now, we have to have a unity of purpose to get the cake. And they showed that unity of purpose and they did what they had to do. They make whatever deals they had to make with the devil, etc. And the Granger government was forced out of power. And so right there, they are now carving up the cake. And enjoying the cake. But we are still on the outside fighting over who should control the cake when we ain't got no cake. How we can get a cake? We have to first have a unity of purpose. And so we can go after the cake. Right? And so we have to do that. As leader of the party, the onus is on Aubrey Norton to reach out to the other factions. I understand he has not done that. As leaders of the other factions, the onus is on those leaders to reach out to Aubrey Norton. I understand they have not done that. Everybody just watching everybody underneath suspiciously. You can't do it. One of my favorite poems coming out of primary school was I Quarreled with My Brother. I don't know if any of you know that poem. But I think Aubrey and Emma is supposed to go and look for that poem. And so it will teach them a thing or two. I quarreled, well, no, that wasn't the name of the poem. The name of the poem is The Quarrel. Right? Right? It did say, I remember it started by saying, I quarreled with my brother, I don't know what about. One thing led to another and somehow we fell out. He said he was right and I knew he was wrong. Right? I remember those words. But at the end of the day, it came down to, come on, we can't go on. You were in the right and I was in the wrong. It was, in my mind, a lesson in compromise, let me call it that. Right? It was a lesson in compromise. Because one brother recognized, listen, if we fight all the time, then we're not going to resolve anything. But if I decide, listen, to give some space, we will come to a resolution. I quarreled with my brother, I don't know what about. One thing led to another and somehow we fell out. The start of it was slight. The start of it was slight. The start of it was slight. The end of it was strong. He said he was right. I knew he was wrong. We hated one another. The afternoon turned black. Then suddenly my brother thumped me on the back and said, oh, come on. We can't go on all night. I was in the wrong. So he was in the right. Good? It started slight. And so when we were seeing all the little indications in the party that, you know, things were not working in unison, people are blind eye to it. I remember Dr. Hines saying all the time, yeah, let PNC, they're going to sort out themselves and they're going to come back stronger. This is the 11th hour. They're still sorting themselves out. Right? This can't be who right and who wrong. This got to be that we got to come to a compromise. To fix ourselves, or a compromise to work together to get these elections out of the way looking good. I'm informed that the parliamentarians that we cuss every day and say they ain't doing nothing have not been enlisted by Aubrey Norton for this campaign. The majority of them, let me see. The majority of them. Because we're seeing 3, 4, or 5 of them around that seem to be in the Northern camp. But we're saying that the others are not visible and they're not doing anything. I'm informed that they have not been enlisted. Nobody has called them and said, well, this is a strategy for the elections. Let us work together so that we can win this election. If that is the case, then we have to get Jackie Jacket and call on Aubrey to call up the parliamentarians and enlist them, because they're part of the team and they should be made to work for the team. I promise that from this morning I'm going to discuss the importance of these local government elections. Right? There's a song that's called, there's a foolish game that lovers play. John Thompson, I don't play foolish games. I'm not a little boy. Nobody don't dare me. Don't come here and ask me and dare me. Add me if you dare. I don't have to add you to anything. You got your own platform. Go and exalt yourself over there, man. Don't dare me to do nothing. assuming that you're daring me to add you. Y'all gotta grow up. It's the same childishness that got us suffering where we are. Because people can't see the bigger picture. They see ego and pettiness. That's what's tearing us apart. Put your egos aside. Let us set our egos aside and work for the common good. We will benefit, our communities will benefit, mankind will benefit. Because you and I might have a difference of opinion, it got come down to daring me, you daring me, I daring you. This is a gunfight at OK Corral. Now give me a break. So, I'm making a public call this morning on the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton. If it is accurate that you have not enlisted, you have not invited, you have not indicated to the parliamentarians that they are needed for the campaign, then it's not too late. We got a few days left, 6 to be exact, or 5. And going forward, you need to recognize that they are part of the team, whether you like them or not. Human beings are of such, we can't like everybody. We will get personality clashes. But it is the bigger man among us who will say, let bygones be bygones, and let us chart a way forward, especially that we have hundreds of thousands of people depending on us. That's my admonition this morning. So all those who have the ears of Norton, now reach out to him. I don't know if you can instruct him. I'm not saying instruct him. I'm saying have a little conversation with him. So Alia Waldron is making a point. I'm not going to comment on it except to say that everybody is seeing the slips. Everybody is seeing their slips. Right? This is not the time for that. Simon Blackman, Aubrey doesn't have to call him. They can call Aubrey. And we can take the same position. Or others can take the same position. They don't have to call Aubrey. Aubrey can call him. And if you continue with that attitude, who's going to call you? That's why I said somebody has to be the bigger person and reach across the aisle. Then that person can say, well, you know, I reached out and I was rudely rejected or rebuffed. Right? I reached out and I was rudely rebuffed. But nobody reaching out, everybody just saying that. Right? Everybody just saying that. Nobody ain't call me. Waging separate campaigns or executing separate campaigns could never be the answer to the situation we're in right now. Could never be the answer. It ain't gonna be the answer now, and it ain't gonna be the answer in the future. Like the poem said, it started slight. It started slight, but it ended up strong. Right? This thing, it started like, you know, Bonnie just fret me. But then, as it approached night, the brother came, it's all in me and this man that war, right? We gotta fix it. Right? We gotta fix it. Good morning, Pauline. Good. So let's talk about why it is important that they fix it. No. Even if it is a temporary fix, it's important that they fix it. No. I've always argued. And that is one thing I can say for myself. I'm consistent. I've always argued that these local government elections represent a test run for the national elections. The PPP is going to test the rigging machinery during these local government elections. And since the local culture is, or has been, Guyanese do not pay too much attention, they do not put too much significance on local government elections. The PPP is really going to extend their hands in these local elections to see how far they can push the button. And if the opposition is not strong enough, if the opposition is not vigilant, if the opposition is not united, the PPP will succeed at pushing that button very far. And once they get to push that button in these local government elections to where they want it, cat eat with dinner when it comes to the next national elections, which I understand is going to be soon. Snap elections, if you call them that. Early elections. I understand that is what is going to happen. And so it is important that what is happening over at Congress Place or wherever be rectified and rectified quickly so that they can stop the PPP from pushing the button in the local government elections. Is it too late? Quite possible. It's the 11th hour. Old people say when we're in a full, juke are full. But there are those of us who say it got the same quality, you can wet them. So it might be too late, it's the 11th hour. But if you can unite to push back in this 11th hour, the possibility is that you can maintain that unity to push back from the start when the clock gets reset for national elections. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's important that they fix it now. Because just as how the PPP is going to be testing their rigging machinery and mechanism at the local government elections, they could be testing the strength of their unity. They could be testing the strength of their teamwork. And so, let's demand that it be fixed now. Why are these local government elections important? Local government elections have always been important. But a lot of us got away playing scant regard to local government elections because the atmosphere in the country was different. Right? Excellent. The atmosphere there was different. There wasn't a lot of financial resources around. Come back to money, you know, money makes the world go wrong. There wasn't a lot of financial resources around. There wasn't an excessive demand for certain kind of community assets. Note I said, there wasn't an excessive demand for certain kinds of community assets because of the fact that there wasn't this abundance of financial resources. An abundance of financial resources increases demand. Those who did economics will tell you that. As a matter of fact, well, principles of business is microeconomics. So even those who did principles of business would understand the matter of demand and supply. Right? Those who did sociology will understand self-actualization. Maslow's hierarchy. The more you get, the more you want. And so the more money people get, the more demand they will make on things which can improve their quality of life. And when there is shortage, what do you find happening? Cartels are developed. Guyana got a lot of cartels. The most prominent one is a land grabbing cartel. It named the PPP. Because they have direct access to all of the finances of this country. Consolidated fund, they got direct access. They have influence on the financial institutions. They could decide if a banking institution gets licensed or not. They can decide if a cambio gets closed down or not. And so they have control over the money. And so with the abundance of money in the economy, their friends, family, and favorites, their cronies, their associates are also getting access to money. And so they also have demands. When I was riding a bicycle, because I wasn't making a lot of money, when I got my first contract, I'm going to buy a motorbike. When I got my second contract, I'm going to push for a car. Because I'm making more money, demand for comfort items is increasing. And so with this abundance of money, demands for community assets have increased. More people want lands. More people got big money to buy lands. More people got big money to set up businesses. But you don't set up a business in the air unless it's even a space station got to get some earth station. You don't set up a business in the air. And so if you want to establish a business, you have to have somewhere to site it. And since one might be considered all of the prime locations, especially in the city, have already been taken, you got to be prepared to spend big money to buy them from somebody, or you have to look for alternative locations and try to acquire them. That is where the problem is for local government. This bullishness of the PPP to host local government elections is not grounded in democracy. It is grounded in economics and access to your resources. Do you remember the PPP of 23 years ago? Do you remember what the PPP did 23? Do you remember the attitude of the PPP 23 years ago? They had no interest in local government elections. Because they saw no direct benefits in them for them. Right? But here in 2023, they're rushing forth, full steam ahead, to hold local government elections. They have gerrymandered the boundaries. They got a fix in GECOM. And they're rushing full steam ahead to hold local government elections. Why? Because control of the local area authorities is important for them to get access to the assets of those local areas. But most importantly, and you would have heard Bar Jagdio mention it, that they are going after the towns and city. Because control of the towns and city is the big deal. Now let me explain Buxton Falls NDC for you, for example. And what obtains in Buxton Falls NDC will obtain in any neighborhood across the country. Once a village is a part of a neighborhood, its assets become available for every resident of that neighborhood. Right? So Buxton Falls NDC covers, I keep saying, about 17 communities. I hope my numbers have been right. And so the assets of Buxton technically have become assets of all of those other 16 communities. So let's look at the land assets of Buxton. Buxton has a lot of lands south of the railway line, south of what we call Bamboo Dam. A lot of people will refer to it as a lot of back dam lands. But all of those lands are not back dam lands because Buxton is divided into sections. Right? So Buxton has a lot of land south of what might be considered right now the living area. The village can only expand south because it is fully occupied east and west. It's fully occupied north. So if any Buxtonian wants to acquire a plot of land in Buxton, he or she most likely has to go south for it. So the ability of Buxton to expand lies in the south. But a lot of those lands in the south come under the jurisdiction of the NDC. And so if you want a plot of land in the south that is under the jurisdiction of the NDC, you have to apply to the NDC for access to that land. Note I said, what is one village's assets in a neighborhood becomes the asset of all the residents of the neighborhood. And so somebody from Melanie, Enterprise, Beirut, Bachelor's Adventure can apply to the Buxton Falls NDC for access to a plot of land in the south of Buxton. Who controls the NDC and has that decision-making power will determine who gets access to that land. And that is the reality across the country. So if you have the PPP controlling Buxton Falls NDC, can you imagine how many residents of, let's say, Enterprise may have a free reign to occupy the land south of Buxton, while the very people in Buxton might have a difficulty getting access to the lands south of Buxton? Are you understanding that? It is that important. The control of the NDC is that important to protect your community assets, your ancestral gains. And so it's not just about who determines where a road is built and how it is built, who determines where garbage is collected and not collected. That's a part of the problem. But for me, the most important part of the problem is who controls your community assets and who has the authority to dole it out to others. And so when you're considering local government elections, you might not even like the candidates that are representing the APNU. But sit and ask yourself, will the PPP do a better job at protecting our ancestral assets for us than these people from our community who are our kith and kin despite the fact we don't like them? In Buxton, I told you already, the constituent rep for Buxton is David Jones. Friendship is Oswald Williams. Vigilance is Marcia Dorset and Gavin Dick. Right? I am sure everybody in Buxton will not appreciate those people. But I'm also sure that they understand the struggle of Buxton. They understand the struggle of African Guyanese. They understand this ancestral fight. And so with them in the NDC, it is likely that they will fight to protect the ancestral assets. Juxtapose that to those who have jumped on the PPP bandwagon, knowing all the ills that the PPP has done to this community and other communities in this neighborhood, and other Afro-Guyanese community across the country. Do you think they are likely to defend your ancestral rights and ancestral property and ancestral assets? So when you consider local government elections, consider how important it is in terms of defending those assets. You might not be able to, at this current time especially, control what's happening at the national level because the PPP is in government. The PPP is the national government. And so you have no control over them because you see what they're doing already. Discrimination and everything else. You see what they're doing. Unfair distribution of resources and everything. You seeing that. Your push back on that is to ensure that they don't also get control of your local government. Because if you make them get control of your local government and the national government, can't eat your dinner. Because you will have no way of pushing back. You will have no way of pushing back. You will have no way of defending what is yours. And so for that simple fact to understand that. Now that's a village scenario. That's a village scenario. Neighborhood Democratic Council. Let us go to the town. The mayor and town council, the city government, controls what happens in the city. The city government can determine who sets up business in the city, who gets trading permits in the city, who gets access to certain facilities in the city. That's what the city government will do. That's what the city government is empowered to do. Of course, everybody knows, I don't have to tell you the importance of the city. The city is a center of commerce in your country. The city is the center of commerce in your country. It's where the most money gets exchanged on a daily basis. And so the city government controls that. Then it is important who represents the city government, who controls the city. Because if you want to do street vending, for example, which a lot of black people are involved in, maybe because they don't have access to big capital to construct high rises, but a lot of black people are involved in city government, street vending. If you want to be a street vendor comfortably in the city of Georgetown, you have to have a permit from the mayor and town council. Who controls the mayor and town council will determine whether or not you get that permit. Let me walk you down memory lane. Not so long ago, the vendors outside of the Georgetown Public Hospital on New Market Street were removed by central government. By central government. But central government really and truly doesn't have the jurisdiction to remove them. That is a city government business. The city government indicated to us in the news, you would have heard you saying the MNCC, the mayor and city council, granted those vendors permission to vend in that location. An area was demarcated for them. They occupied that demarcated area. I think they paid weekly fees by authority of the city government. But central government, which is different to the city government politically and otherwise, central government is PPP. The city government for the majority is Coalition APNU. Stepped in and say, disregard city government, we don't have time with you. We want you moved and you will be moved. Can you imagine if those who control central government now gets full control of the city government, how many more people will be removed? Because that protection being offered by the current city government will no longer be there. Can you imagine that? Georgetown might be free, totally free of street vendors. Because I can tell you, the supporters of the PPP are large businessmen in the city. And large businessmen in the city would rather see the backs of street vendors because they say street vendors are affecting their profit margin, their profit line. So can you imagine if the people at central government also control the city government, what will happen to those of you who are making your living in the city protected by the current city government? If you didn't think about it, start thinking about it now. I'm going to tell you about a very troublesome part of it. A lot of people looking like you. A lot of people who look like the majority of supporters of the coalition. A lot of black people have properties in the city. Or let me go to the past. They had properties in the city. And they lost them because of their inability to pay their taxes. Or their failure. Let me say failure. Sometimes failure comes from inability. But let me put it as failure. We're going to examine why they failed at some later point. They failed to pay their taxes, etc. And those properties were put on the market by city government. And so, people with money, who in many instances didn't look like them, bought those properties up. I mentioned to you before a piece of legislation we commonly call the Not Man Act. Desmond Wright recognized what was happening. Desmond Wright recognized that black people were losing their properties in the city, which had high commercial value, either because they weren't paying taxes for some reason or other, or because people were coming up with schemes to rob them of those properties. And he stepped in, and a law was created to protect property owners in general in the city. It was not, it main aim might have been to protect black people, but everybody else would have benefited from it. That act dictates basically that if a property is in arrears, before city council can sell it, they got to jump through hoops. Just my terminology. Right? If the city is controlled by the PPP, many of those hurdles will be removed. And so all them black people got properties in the city right now and are in arrears of taxes and so on. You're going to find the properties on the market and rich Indian businessmen will buy them out. That's a fact. So voting in these local government elections, while it is going to put people from the coalition in the seat of city government, you are also voting to protect yourselves and protect your assets. Because there is a higher likelihood of the PPP removing hurdles so that it becomes easy to get rid of your property or take your property from you, then it is likely that the representatives of the coalition will do it. Licensing around the city. City government controls that. Some categories of business got to be licensed by city council. Again, can you imagine if city council is controlled by the PPP, looking at their behavior nationally, how discriminatory they are? Can you imagine them making it easy for folks looking like you and me to get those licenses and to ply our trade? I'm trying to put it at the simplest level so that we all can understand what's happening and the importance of the local government elections, the importance of ensuring that the PPP doesn't take control of our local areas, as in the neighborhood democratic councils, and most importantly, the towns and city. Well, if you can't see that, you're going to feel it. Because the fact is, a lot of our people earn their living in the city, on the pavements, around the streets. They don't have ownership of high rises. They don't have capital to rent space in high rises. And their very existence on the streets as business people depends on who controls City Hall and how favorable they will be to them. That is how, in my mind, that is how important local government is. Local government elections are. That is why it is important to get every single vote out and ensure that those votes are cast in a certain place. Ensure that those votes are cast to the AP and UAFC, because what? Historically, you've seen that the AP and UAFC, or the coalition in City Hall, has protected the vendors, has protected the small business people. If you want to take your chances, and for $250,000, vote for the PPP, go right ahead. But you will come to recognize that that $250,000 will be finished, and you will have no place to ply your trade. So you're going to be more than $250,000 poor. That's all I want to say to you this morning about local government elections and finding that unity in the PNC or the APNU. Why it's important to find that unity and start the pushback now, and why it's important to ensure that your votes are cast to the APNU to keep the hands of the PPP off of your local area authorities and city government. That's all I want to say to you about that now. I got something else I want to talk to you about. But I've been talking long enough. I think I'm due for a musical break. Right? Let's take a musical break. I love Jamaican reggae. Why? It tells the messages I want to tell most of the time. I never say I'm taking calls now. I say I'm taking a musical break. Let me see if this is the right one. No, man. Wrong one. Listen up. There's a message here.
Them never want see we strive, so them set all bad road in our life. Oh yeah, them never want see we strive, so them set all bad roads in our life. Oh, but I know what's burning you, but mine I kill you. I know what's burning you, no love in your heart, no love in your soul too. Them never want see we strive, so them set all bad road in our life. Oh, Jah, them never want see we strive. So them set all bad road in our life. We attack to EXXON government, me tell no chief of staff. Look how much ghetto look dead in the ghetto what they da. Suffering children on the street at night. Abuse them for their culture and their equal rights. Jah, see, I know what I want. Cause the redemption they got chanting, you know. And in a Babylon, no youth now go bow. Oh, but I know what's burning you, but mine I kill you. I know what's burning you. No love not in your heart, no love not in your soul true. Them never want see we strive, so them set all bad road in our life. Oh Jah, them never want see we strive, so them set all bad road in our life. But Emperor Selassie I guide and protect. No Babylon can bust Rasta bet. Cause in the Gideon, enough of them going to sweat. Revolution just start to no hear nothing yet. I'm a Gideon soldier, come make we march. Light up it arch when the take on my back. The whole of King's House policeman them dead off. Go tell the Prime Minister at Jamaica house we want. Rolling with fire from we eyes. Now come here so under no fast this like revolution of this start because blood in our eye. We got the ghetto youth them and them only a pretend. Election a come them full of beer promising. But youth they are just to burn them skin. Them dwell down in a vanity, corruption and sin. And yam them bloody meat and don't want ear licking. But Jah see I know everything ain't what I want. Oh, them never want see we strive. So them set all bad road in our life. Oh Jah, them never want see we strive. So them set all bad road in your life. I say oh yeah, I say whoa oh Jah, I say yeah, oh Jah, I say whoa yeah Jah. Oh, them never want see me strive. So them set all bad road in our life. Oh yeah, them never want see me strive. So them set all bad road in our life. Watch we are juggle in a the Gideon and still firm. Enough more things to learn. Watch we are juggle in a the Gideon and still firm. Cause many more miles to go. I heard in a Zion, Bingy man in Zion.
They never want to see you thrive. I said I set a bad bone in your life. Listen, y'all hear me carefully. 2 quick responses. Why WPA did not contest local government elections to show its strength? Because WPA believes that a proper functioning GECOM, a clean voters list, and free and fair elections are more important than it showing its strength. And so in order to draw attention to that fact that GECOM is not functioning properly, the voters list needs to be sanitized, There's a need for free, fair, and credible elections, and the systems must be put in place. WPA has simply said, we will not partake in those elections because they are not going to be free, fair, and transparent. GECOM is not operating in a free, fair, and credible way, and the list will not be cleaned. So WPA staying out of those elections is a form of protest and uprising. Drawing to the world's attention that we are not satisfied with what is happening at GECOM and the electoral regime. It's not the first time WPA has taken that position. WPA has always taken positions of ethical positions when it comes to elections and national life. So don't be surprised at that. But the likes of Miranda Brown would have loved to know WPA contested the elections to add credibility to something that is not credible. We're smarter than that. Democracy is not only about elections. It has to do with functioning institutions and good governance. And so we're not going to go into any elections to prove what? To give our credibility for fraud and anti-democratic practices, dictatorship and autocracy? No. We will forever stay outside and shout to the heavens that things are regular. Right? Say Miranda Brown, do you want to keep the city vendors in poverty? Got them street vending all the time? No. Do I want to watch them go hungry? Definitely not. And so I would rather see them engage in commerce as they are doing currently based on their ability. Give me access to the resources to lift them out of that level and carry them further up. I certainly will. There's a place in this country called the Small Business Bureau. Do you know the role and function of the Small Business Bureau? The role and function of the Small Business Bureau. It is supposed to, through the small business development window, it is supposed to provide training for small business people, help them to do business plans, etc. Provide financing or access to financing to those business people. Somewhere in the, I don't know if they call it the Small Business Act, there's a provision that those small business people are supposed to get access to 10 or 20% of government contracts. Is the PPP doing that? The answer is a resounding no. And so just as you're asking me if I want to see them remain in poverty, I'm asking you, Miranda Brown, a representative of the PPP. What has the PPP done to take them out of poverty? Has the PPP used an existing institution which was established for that very purpose to assist them out of poverty? No. And we have also seen those very big business people who ply their trade in the streets of Georgetown and so on, make efforts to upgrade themselves. A lot of them on New Market Street, for example, were trading out of baskets and on trades. And as time went by, they did what? They acquired what we call caravans or mobiles. And so when the PPP decided that they were going to move them from New Market Street, the majority of who they moved were people who had caravans or mobiles, which they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to acquire. Some of them took loans from iPad to acquire them and develop their businesses. Not because they wanted to stay in poverty, but they wanted to elevate themselves. And they were doing it at a rate that they were comfortable with, at a rate that they could have managed. The PPP in government is not doing anything to assist them, but instead is pushing them off. Pushing them out of the commerce of the city. So should they rather be pushed out of the commerce of the city, or should they rather be given a chance to grow at a rate that they're comfortable with? What would you have chosen, Miranda? It's now 25 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. I want she has something. Some might see it as entertainment. I know it's darn serious business. I gotta find the two posts together. Yes, I want them side by side.
This crowd has lit fire in the presence of me. Most of them are nothing but thugs. Let me make it very clear. If and when you hear I give the instruction to go into action, don't ask me why I'm reporting to you. I am reporting to you that there are about 80 persons here, males and females. 2 police runs are assaulted in my presence. Constable Edwards, members of the media are standing by as if this is a spectatorial show. I am making it clear that after the instruction is given for action, it is for action. This crowd is no longer behaving in a manner which indicates people.
They know that the police have shot somebody and they doing nothing. Start now.
That is Commander Mr. Mahinder Singh. You're live.
I am serious with what I'm saying.
Right.
This which is happening here is not as a result of police action. Let's be very clear. This is not as a result of the action of my police or me. This happened. You're disturbing me. This happened as a result of a private action in the court by the owner or supposed lawful owner of this property to my right.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the police.
So why were the police
are here to maintain peace?
Why were the police on the land yesterday?
The police are standing here to maintain a peace, to maintain that no peace is due. The police presence was when first supposed decided to assault persons who are there on the property.
You're aware that the police fired live rounds yesterday?
No, this was one of the police there. This sergeant here was there yesterday. So I will tell you that I do not know, nor am aware that same occurred.
And so some people
I was there yesterday when shots firing.
Yeah.
3 persons were arrested for reference to disorderly behavior and other offences. And if you would observe, this which is happening here is tantamount to what kind of activity?
You tell me.
Public terror. Causing public terror. Is this how civil society behave? Is this how lawfully abiding citizens behave?
Isn't there?
And we must not blame it that the police provoke anyone to cause this to happen. That is not so. You could smell the next sentence coming. The police are not here to harm anyone. The police are here to maintain the peace. How then can them come out now to provoke a situation with those like this?
Do you have somebody within your division that can negotiate with the protesters?
Why is the commander here? What do you saw me doing? What you saw me doing that, sir?
I'm listening to you.
But you can observe. Give me a fair hearing. You can listen to yourself and see the behavior practice. Instead of engaging, they are provoking. But the police will not be provoked. They are trained professionals. And like yesterday, we will remain here to ensure peace prevails. The road is clear. This is not another occurrence like another one which occurred in this one.
So can you qualify 2 or 3 persons and negotiate?
Actually, they need to work the police. Just really speaking on me, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Are you willing to engage with someone?
That is why I'm here, and as soon as I came, that's the first thing I did. And I'm willing to continue.
I heard you.
Everything I've received and the leadership provided to me is to engage.
I heard you call them thugs on your radio set. Why would you do that? You call them thugs.
Me?
Yes, you said I have you on record saying that they're okay.
Maybe you heard someone say so.
No, I heard you. No, I heard you say they're nothing but thugs.
This thing is quoting someone like Mahinder Singh exactly.
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you, and you report to a Guyanese citizen as a thug. Listen to me carefully.
Listen. No. Hold on, sir. But you said just now that they are nothing but thugs in your own words.
If you wish to put words in the mouth, well, I'm saying to you, I'm here to engage. If you wish to assist the process, do so.
No,
and I trust you that you were here last night.
I was.
And other people were here this morning.
I was here this morning as well.
So I thank you for your assistance. And I am going to use the law to enlist.
I understand.
To cause them to to do the other everything.
Now you've seen that video.
Low battery.
You've seen that video. You've heard that senior superintendent said on his radio, they're nothing but thugs. You've also heard him deny on camera that he ever called them thugs. He said he will never call the citizens of Guyana thugs. But you heard it for yourself. Right alongside that video that was shown there is this story. Officer accused of sexually harassing journalists reportedly raped junior rank. That was the action of a thug. Sexually harassing a journalist is thuggish. Raping or allegedly raping a junior rank is thuggish. Let's read the story. A superintendent of police is in hot water after female police rank has come forward accusing him of rape 2 weeks after he was accused by a female journalist of sexual harassment. On Wednesday, Commissioner of Police Leslie James confirmed the development when he was asked to comment on the new information coming forward. The Guyana Chronicle learned that the female police rank made the allegation earlier this week and provided a statement to that effect to police detectives. The female cop who at one time worked under the officer at the Criminal Investigation Department had requested to be transferred after a number of unethical advances were made to her, as well as the alleged rape. Last week, Commissioner of Police Leslie James told reporters that the officer was stood down from his regular duties. Based on the information which has since reached this publication, the officer was transferred to another section of the force. The journalist who made the sexual harassment claims against the officer 2 weeks ago stated that the incident took place as she went to his office to secure information on a matter which he was handling. The matter involved the discovery of arms and ammunition along with illicit substances. A number of senior officers were reportedly aware of the allegations made by the journalist, but did nothing. However, the Commissioner of Police said while the information about a number of ranks being aware of the information is true, it was accurate to say that nothing was done in relation to the allegation. He pointed out that they were informed about the matter of sexual harassment but were not told of the specifics of the case and who the other party was. These matters remain under investigation. Can anybody tell me what the investigations into this matter turned up? Can you identify the thug, the alleged rapist? They say if 1 and 0, ask 2. And if 9 and 0, ask 10. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. 6225933 is the number to call. Meanwhile, I understand that they are fighting hard to put Travis Chase under pressure. They're working on trumping up charges, shame, and so on and so forth. But this is Guyana. 622-5933 is the number to call. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. Call, let's talk the thing. I've done my part. It's your part now. Your turn now.
Them never want see we strive, so them set all bad road in our life. Oh yeah, them never want see we strive, so them set all bad road in our life. Oh, but I know what's burning you, but mine not kill you. I know what's burning you, no love, no your heart, no love, no your soul too. Them never want see we strive, so them.
Your life.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Why you comment this morning?
Call away, you always low, man. Where does you try for disguise your voice or something?
No, man, no.
So why you call always low?
You hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, I suspect you're calling from the bottom of NCN, but go ahead.
No, man, no. I accustomed to you call me Crapo and all that thing, man. I can't move me here now. You just said that how Afro-Guyanese have been losing their property in Georgetown. So technically is the PNC selling out the people and property.
Caller.
Understand me? And then now you just say, hold on, one other point. Paul Slow has been accused of the same thing you just talked about the police rank. You should talk about that too.
Excuse me.
Paul Slow whole program, and Paul Slow get charged. The policeman never get charged. There was no I don't know why, but Paul Slow get charged for allegedly sexual harassment.
Caller.
He is in court for that.
Caller.
You giving him a whole program for you forum. Karaki, sometimes I just want to know we use preach, man.
Caller.
Talk from both sides of your mouth.
You know if you talk, by talk. You talk.
Equally, you must address these things. And next thing, you think it's right for Jordan to sell out the war for value $40 million US for $100,000 Kadaki? Come on, buddy. Come on, Kadaki. You got to talk from both sides. You got not from one side. You got to see talk from both sides. You got when you're accusing people, you're accusing everyone. Everybody. Thank you for your time, Kadaki, and keep doing good work.
Thank you for calling. I will now respond to you. Once you're not here to
call me anything you want.
No. Bye. Let me tell you something.
You can call me through whatever you want to call me, man. It can't move me, but I like listening to your program, and thank you again for allowing me to respond.
This is a democracy.
Have a blessed day.
This is a democracy. Now, let me address this. First and foremost, I read this story. I don't know how Pastor ended up in this story, according to this scholar. Secondly, an allegation of similar nature, according to the scholars, before the courts with Pastor. Pastor will have his day in court. The court himself said, or he was about to say, no investigations were done in this matter of this alleged rape by this senior police officer. Why not? So I'm just highlighting to the world that we seem to have double standards in this country. A lot of it. Because there are allegations made against a senior policeman, which this scholar is saying have not been investigated. They have not been investigated. Possible as a matter before the court running for maybe over a year now. I wonder why they ain't trying the case. I really wonder. Now the court conveniently heard me say, black people, they losing their business, their properties and so on. And so he concluded that it's the PNC. He didn't hear me say that Desmond Knight stepped in to prevent some of the happenings at City Council, City Hall, Town Hall from happening. And he stepped in and everybody is benefiting from that. He didn't hear that. And so he gets peeved when we call him all kinds of names. But rain or fall, breeze or blow, chicken backside out the door. If you expose your red slip, we're going to see your red slip. Call it live. Good morning.
Could I call someone a jackass on the program, sir?
You don't need to. Name calling really don't help the case.
No.
Left it to me.
I don't want to address him as a jackass. Hear why? Because first of all, he's trying to defend it. He's trying to defend the PEP without proper facts, right? Without proper information. They just send him out to say one thing all the time. It seems like, right? Because if you're talking about you spoke about double standard, that is double standard. He's talking about what Minister Jordan selling WARF for how much money and all this kind of stuff. Let's look at Particle 1, Particle 2. Let's look at those lots that were sold to their friends and the PB friends and family, ministers and all these kind of people. You know the value of those lots. I'm nearly encouraged just now. That is double standards. He's talking about sell WARF to Tiwari. So Mr. Jordan wasn't related to Tiwari. That was a businessman that was doing business with the PEP and continued doing business with the coalition. So that was Tiwari was a legitimate businessman at the time that that Mr. Jordan did whatever deal he's trying to say he did with some wharf, right? And according to what I understand, that was a continuation from a contract that he had previously with the previous government, which is the PPP.
Permit me to interrupt you.
Right? So that is double standard.
Permit me to interrupt you. The court recently ruled on that matter with Mr. Jordan, right? And what the court said and what I want to say, and we have been saying, Jordan didn't sell wharf to Tiwari in his private capacity. Jordan was carrying out government instructions. Right?
Yes.
Jordan was carrying out government instructions. And so he begged the government.
That's why I label him.
Go ahead.
That's why I label him as a jackass, right? Because compare that to what they did with Paddoville 1 and 2, or those lands, right? They weren't taken to court, of course, so the judge could have pronounced it. But everybody and the grandmother knew that was wrong, what they did. That was daylight robbery, right? So that is one. There's the double standards there. The second thing I want to talk about is about these dudes in the government now, especially these Indian dudes and some of these senior police people. You know, put these people on a level playing field, right? They can't get no girl at all but their wives, right? The wife whoever they have. The only way they could get girls, right, is if they got money or they got position. So now they get the money and the position. They abusing these females, right? These brothers, they installed president when he was in that ministry, not now, was in the ministry before, right? Even as far as this dude Kissoon when he was at the University of Guyana, right? They usually use the position for get females. Nobody know these girls want to give them a second look, and then they start abusing them. So this is what we see. This idiot little born or whatever they call him. You know, he can't get girl just like the go there and get no girl. So I'm talking ghetto here now, right? And because that's the way this is where we are right about in this country. Down in the mud.
Thank you for your contribution. Have a good day.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Caller Live, good morning. Hold the line, please. Hold the line, please. Hold the line, please. Caller, be restrained. I gotta do something that will make us hear you. You're live.
Hello?
Yes, you are.
Good morning, everyone. Just like to contribute to your program. Love the program, love the energy. But I would like to say something. I'm a Guyanese that leave Guyana from small. Parents' choice. Love Guyana. But Guyana have a problem. I think everybody in Guyana understand that Guyana is rich with everything. They can make life there for everybody. Greedy is stepping in. Greed is stepping in. And because of greed, certain people are taking over. People are jumping over to other sides is because of their own interests. One thing I'd like to point out, Suriname had a president there for years. They're crying for him. He must not go to jail and everything. Why did they keep him there for years? I would like him to go back. Lawlessness, selling the drugs, turning a blind eye, and everybody surviving nice. I think that's what went on with PPP in the time that they were there. And they wanted to continue going on because they would sell the drugs, continue selling the drugs, continue being lawless. And that's my point for today. They love the lawlessness, so they don't want, Guyana don't like law and order. Most of the people, they cannot take law and orders. So they're sitting there and they would vote for the lawlessness. So it's a sad situation, very sad situation, because everybody knows PPPs would continue the lawlessness and Guyana would get nowhere. That's my point, and I'm sad and sick of it. Sad for Guyana. Okay, bye.
Thank you, caller. Miranda Brown tells me that Desmond Knight died years ago. Let us stay in the current. But the PPP still drums up the ghosts of Fabs Barnum and Chetty, especially at elections time. Right? Miranda, I think, also says that we know that BK was a financer of the APNU. I know that BK was a financer of the PPP. That is what big businesses do. They switch allegiance. Who in power get their support? Who out of power suck wood? BK and the PPP were always in bed. As a matter of fact, the first case that went to court for a minister being in corrupt practices against the PPP involved the then sitting Minister of Public Works getting a bribe of a motor vehicle, allegedly from BK in the name of his son. So if you're talking about who BK was or is in bed with, it starts with the PPP. Call in live, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Gaddafi. Now you spoke about this local government. Last Tuesday I went to the NDC office of Sturgeville on the West Coast. And when I got there, somebody came to conduct business at the village office. And what was being told by the person who was working there, that was around like 7 something. I can't help you with this here because I am one of the 10 days worker. Now imagine that 10-day worker was at the workplace with all the things of the lands and everything, hair blowing in the wind. But she was in this office at this early hour. Village officers open after 8 o'clock. So you see what goes on? The guard would let them in because they know they are working. So when you go to work at this early hour with your smartphone, all you could be doing is sending out valuable information on the lands, because village office looking after 2 things: land, collecting rates and taxes, and see what's going on in the prescribed local authority area. So that is what they're doing. They go as a 10-day and they swear allegiance to the PPP. Now there is a movement that they are laying all the villages. Don't matter if they see a tomb, they put in the PPP flag. That reminds me of the Bible story. I think it was with Moses when he wicked father and that Jethro didn't want to send him. See, took away his animals. And he decided he spot something, put it in the water. He stripe another wood, put it in the water. And I will look at these things. When they gave birth, they were blemished. So I think he said, well, he wandered. And he collected these things and he moved. Well, apparently, the PPP learn about them. So they are putting up the flags all around, probably to say, when you see these flags, you will go. Well, I listened to a program with Mr. Alexander last night, Vincent Alexander, and he says there is nothing. They are planning to have receptacles in the polling station where you could lodge, where you will have to lodge your phones and then enter the voting compartment. You wouldn't lose your phone because only one elector goes to the polling compartment. Even if there are other electors or voters in the poll station, you gotta wait stand in line, and then you proceed. So people who can't do without the cell phones, you could walk with it, but it will be right outside, so you don't have to snap the picture and make certain something that is as sacred as who you want to rule you be known all around, so you cannot be jeopardized. Now, yesterday, the thing Miranda Brown was at me, saying, "Oh, I am. Nobody mustn't think me." I don't care. If I gotta walk, I gonna walk and pay my money, Miranda Brown. I see the bloodshed of my people. I look at little children with the wonderment, African children, with the wonderment of what is going to become of us. I listen and all kind of thing. And if I got to forego the money to help to sensitize and carry my people to the poll station to make certain we hold on to what we have as Africans, Miranda Brown, I will do it over and over and over again. Because you know what? I want to live in a country where I am safe, where my young people must not be slaughtered in the streets of Guyana, with the blood running in the streets like water. I'm not going to run to collect that money and can't say anything. I must not be muzzled by the money that the PPP is trying to offer me. No, I wouldn't do that. And all the things he would talk, the same person would talk about the $18 million that Mr. Minister Jordan get. When the $18 million came, I think they said that money was given and they could have used it, and it was allotted to the problems with Venezuela as a money to pay down on the case for Venezuela. But you hear every day, every minute, people like Miranda Brown and Randy Singh would bring it to the floor to show. And with that police, he did call people thugs. And if you look in the gathering of people, it wasn't black people alone or a black man, as it does say, was pulling Indians, Americans, what it does call the B word. They were all there fighting for one cause. It had the Indian boy with the ear and ponytail, what is going on. You know what it is, that not to live in a rent, and you're taking all what you get, and you build a little box, and then you add on and you add on, and you watch somebody come with a bulldozer or a Hymac and lit down your place. It ain't easy. I lost a house by fire, and I know what it is to lose a dwelling. I had to stand up and watch me place going up in fire, and then I had to study where will we live, and I know it is. So I feel the pain with all the Kami races for all those people who lost their places of rest in what they do. And that is not the first place. It is all over. When the PPP in licking down people dwelling homes, they're taking away the business, the little trays, the caravans. Why is the PPP doing this? And then when you talk, you put up your flag and you try to indoctrinate people to go your way, there is going to be a fight back. There will be a fight back, and that is why the PPP is getting those people last. Now they took a renowned PNC woman, I can't remember she name, and put it up that the woman is with them. And the woman, I think it's Sandra Solomon or something like that, and the woman came out openly and said it profoundly that she is not in the PPP camp, and they're looking for stalwarts of APNU or PNC and add them to the list. There are some riffraffs who were with the party who gone across, but not everybody in the party is walking across to the PPP. And people out there, look out for what is going on. And remember, vote on the 12th resoundingly to save what you have. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your call. I am looking for that story I told you about. And I saw a short report which said it happened in 27, let me get the year right. But like they want to see me, every time I click on the story, it bounces away. January 9, 2002. Call A Live, good morning.
Yes, good morning to you and all my black brothers and sisters.
Let's go on your volume low.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good morning to you and all my black brothers and sisters in Guyana. Miss Rhonda, when one door closes, another one open, you will pay that bill. Don't worry, and you did the right thing. Don't see things in the day and wait till night time for look for it. Don't get your unborn again for PPP. They are setting you up. They want to put you in jail, and they're trying all things. Let me move on. My brother said yesterday when we call in, we must encourage our family and friends and neighbors to go and vote. And that is what I love, unity and support. I'm asking all my black brother and sister in Guyana, even my family them back home there, let us give Irfan Norton his first victory as a leader for the PNC. Let us go outside there and vote and show Jack Diosu enough is enough. We will not make you put us against our black brothers, because no, PPP supporters don't put Jack Dio them away. They stick with them. We must stick with what we have and protect of what we have. I love this word, remember. Why we black people don't remember what happened in 23 years? Why we not seeing shoe? You know, if Jack Diosu have the numbers to win this election, he would not even give black people a cup of water for drink. But because he say he don't have the numbers, that's why he pulling them black man away and promise them things. But them children gonna end up in jail and in grave, like that young boy who in Mackenzie right now, one dead family and one in jail. We have to stop our nonsense. It is our time now. And when you listen to Irfan Norton, he always talk about taking out black people out of poverty. That is a leader we want. We got to give him his first victory. And I like what you did this morning. Encourage and show black people why you must go outside and vote. Don't look upon WPA, look upon you, why you gonna lose, and what the children gonna end up with cutlass and file for walking the sugar in their tree. We must stop that. We're bigger than that, we're better than that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. I was saying to you, I don't know why Alice share with me. I got memory like an elephant if it's the right thing, but I got serious memory. I don't forget certain things. In January of 2000, a publication they call Welcome to Guyana, I think. I had this story to share. January 9, 2000. In fact, it's a Starbucks News editorial under the caption Corruption. January 9, 2000. And this is how it reads. Call all the line. In his Watch Post publication bulletin number 3 issued in December 2000, Mr. U.C. Guyana, for several decades the keeper of the public conscience, has returned to the attack on the issue of corruption. Mr. Guyana refers to a number of matters, some of which have been raised before by himself and other persons, including the cover-up of frauds in government companies by dismissing the persons with no publicity, the failure of a state agency to file annual financial statements, the building of expensive homes by government officials at Ogle, tenders of public works and the issuing of contracts, the destruction by fire of a Ministry of Works building containing accounting records, the preferment of a particular consulting group, the road scam in 1998, and the unsatisfactory development of land at Enterprise by a contract in which Mr. William Cox and others had bad experiences. I'm going to jump down to the penultimate paragraph. It would be good for the government to take some of Mr. Guyana's complaints seriously. When they came to power in 1992, they had placed great emphasis on being lean and clean. To ignore these complaints does not give a good impression. If there are answers, they should be given. If contractors are being chosen because they qualify and can do the job and others can't, this should be explained. If there was good reason for not suing the contractor over the non-repose and charity contracts, this should be given. If one firm of consultants has proved more efficient than others, thus justifying their repeated complaint, some effort should be made to explain this. Otherwise, people will draw adverse conclusions and there will be a loss of confidence. You all know about Mondripo, you all know about Charity Wharf floating away? I'm sure you know. Right? So there has been some move in the direction of public accounting. On the other hand, a revamped tender board promised 2 years ago in a budget speech is yet to materialize. An internal PPP anti-corruption committee set up under Mrs. Jagan after the dismissal by the ombudsman of a complaint by Mr. Guyana in connection with the sale of a car to Mr. Nocta has apparently never functioned, as there have been no reports of its activities. This sale of a car to Nocta is the matter I'm referring to. At the time, Nocta was Minister of Public Works, if I remember clearly. Right? Who got the car? Who got the car? Nocta got the car in the name of his son. Who was the car, quote unquote, sold by? Who was the car sold by? Good? There's a document I'm forced to show. Well, I'm not forced to show. But I have a document to share with you. You know what? Quite frankly, I want to leave these matters to tomorrow, perhaps, or Thursday, because I'm dealing with local government really and truly today. I don't want us to miss that. But in 2019, right, a letter was written requesting that transport be passed. It came from the Ministry of the Presidency addressed to Winston Jordan in July 2019, the 19th of July 2019, requesting for passing of transport, Brian Tiwari. I forward for your attention a copy of a letter dated 2019-07-16, which was received from Mr. Brian Tiwari, Managing Director of BK International. Mr. Tiwari has complained that since entering into agreement with NISIL in 2006, December 4th, the transport to him for the old Guyana Rice Board property at lots 1 and 2, Mudlot, Kingston, has not been passed. Please examine the complaint and respond to him. This is 2019. Tiwari writing to the government of Guyana complaining that he had entered into an agreement with NISIL since December of 2006. And up to that time, they had failed to pass the transport for the property for which the agreement was entered into. Right? I will tell you more about this later. But just edify yourself with that one. Just edify yourself with that one. We will talk. I'm sure we will talk about this. Maybe Thursday, because tomorrow we will have doctrines. But the lines are opened. Oh, shoots, it's past 9 o'clock already. It's 4 minutes past 9. Right? It's 4 minutes past 9. But I hope you all get the local government message and the importance. Oh, I got a call on the line. Let me take it. It looks like I'm running into overtime this morning again.
Hello?
Call it live. Go ahead.
Good morning, Marikadaki, and good morning to the rest of Guyana.
I want to address that issue with someone by the name of Miranda Brown or whatever. I mean, I keep asking myself, I mean, where does these people, where did they went to school? How did they got the education? Did all of them went to Iflat University? Because I say that because simple, how can people being selling on the pave be in poverty? Those are people who's being productive. Those are people who are being who do not want to be sitting at home. Those who are people who are catering for their families and have progressed over the years. Those people, I mean, they're so productive that you know, every morning they get up about 4 o'clock and they be out there to set their stalls and sell the items just to make a living for their family. Is that they calling keeping people in poverty, or is that bringing people out of poverty? It is so sickening to understand the mentality of these sick people. You know what I mean? I'm trying to find words to explain the behavioral pattern. As far as I'm concerned, is a set of numbskull and dumb people. You know, the criminals and thieves and you check it, good Kidaki.
Caller,
or anybody listening to this program.
Thank you, caller.
Anybody listening, you know. Okay, you have a nice day.
Yes, thank you. Some of them thinking with the thing under their foot. But they think we like them, they think we intellectually lazy. But the point has been made, and I want to reiterate. These local government elections are not just about running the NDC. It's about control of community assets and who will get them to use. Voice note.
Mr. Gaddafi, good morning. Let me just say this. That caller that called you today, what he's saying is wrong. I'm bringing Mr. Flow's name into his nonsense. He is our slave. He has nothing to say. You know them right away, because anytime you have to talk anything wrong that the PPP is doing, the first thing they would come to say to you, all sides are doing the same thing. That narrative, as soon as you hear them saying so, they're our slaves and they can't do anything better. All they see is money. They see no dignity, no pride, no anything. So let them just go with this information somewhere else. Nobody don't want to hear no trash from them. Once they're our slaves, that keep off the program and don't talk nothing, because people don't want to listen to them.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for that voice note. Y'all encourage y'all people, go out and make the 12th of June a day of resistance and African uprising. Vote in your numbers. Ensure you keep the PPP's hands off of your NDCs.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Well, you saying about the taxes, we'll have a next plan also. Another plan is for start fires. And when the fire come, the government will come and say, okay, I will give you house lots. And then they sell wherever the fire burn down to the own people. All those front spots, black people own, you will get unknown fires. And then the government will come as a helping hand for also give you house lots and put you in expense. So there's a next plan.
Thank you for that voice note. People understand what they're dealing with, or some people understand what they're dealing with. Some people playing blind.
The reason why they get all those thugs around to work, do the bidding.
Some people pretending they don't know what they're dealing with.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. You know, you've been preaching to these people. I wonder if they listen and they understand how much you try to explain simple thing that is supposed to be common sense. Because a lot of these people, judgments are blocked by the little $40,000 for the kids. Because look at the time when PPP bring the $40,000 just before the government election, the local government election. You know, so they're going to give you the $40,000 now and twist your head. So for those who have 3 and 4 kids, you know, 120, 160 and these kind of things, you know, you feel like the government cares. You understand? So they have to open their eyes and understand that PPP is trying to buy their votes. And if they're not smart enough, they're going to end up homeless and hungry worse than they are right now. Thank you for sharing. You at least you're trying to get them to understand what's going on. I don't know if they're smart enough to understand because like you're preaching for the weeks, months and years now and they're not getting it.
Thank you for that voice note. It's something I wanted to say that slipped me, but I'm going to come back to it before I leave. Good. It looks like all voice notes have been played. Yes, all voice notes played. It's 10 past the 9 o'clock hour. You've been tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. I'm your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Join Dr. Heinz tonight on Politics 101 and join me tomorrow morning again for another program of Guyanese Morning Time with the Buxtonian. We're going to continue to have these conversations. They won't be finished today. They can't be finished today. It's an ongoing discourse we're going to have. Right, so what I failed to tell you this morning, I'll remember to tell you tomorrow and Thursday. And Friday. You know, Friday, oh God, it's Free Talk Friday. Have a good day. Oh, well, let me address that $40,000 quickly. I heard a video of some clown looking like me saying that the APNU supporters lining up for the PPP money. Is that the PPP money? Right? It's not the PPP's money. It is the nation's money being misused by the PPP. Let's get that right. But I want to address quickly. Some people say belief cure and belief kill. Y'all ain't gonna know my belief, but I will tell you what my teaching is. And I know a lot of you have been giving your children those teachings. From a little child like growing up, I was told don't take money from strangers. Especially back then was coin. There's some people that use money to do all kinds of wickedness with them. Don't take money from strangers. And I want to ask a question. Are the people in the PPP or the operatives in the PPP, are they people? Are they capable of doing wickedness with money? Have a good day.